Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 16 of season 7 of our F124 Haas driver career mode. Yes, we return this weekend here at the Temple of Speed for the Italian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Zandvoort, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But I start this episode with one of the kind of funniest, weirdest little glitches I have ever seen inside F124. Now, we're still looking to try and put a few upgrades on the car before season's end. As you can see, Haas and Ferrari, we've got a little bit of a buffer over everybody else at this stage of the campaign. But if I head into the powertrain department, my ERS cooling upgrade rewards me with 90 points for doing it. If you have a look, we can set it up as standard and we gain 90 points. So I can literally do this upgrade and end up with more R&D inside this game. Somebody please tell me that F124 isn't a broken title. Taking a look though at our World Championship standings, Oscar Piastri a 44-point lead over a resurgent George Russell who took victory last weekend. We are a further 10 points back at the moment. There is 25 points in it in the Constructors' Championship as well, between McLaren, Ferrari and ourselves. So we need a big push throughout this final third of the season. We need to keep this championship fight going for as long as we possibly can. Of course, get yourself subscribed. We are trying to hit 140,000 subs before F125 releases. And if you want to help support us just a little bit more, you can click the join button down below. You get early access to all the videos, as well as some other cool exclusive little perks. But without further ado then, let's head back here for the Italian Grand Prix.
For over a century, the Temple of Speed has all come down to moments like this. Driver versus the stopwatch to set the grid for the Grand Prix. It is qualifying at Monza.
Well, I'd completely kind of forgotten that Ayu Komatsu is obviously team principal of the Haas Formula 1 team. Obviously so used to it being Gunther Steiner at the helm. But yeah, nice to see Ayu coming down and having a chat with us, ready for qualifying this weekend. No idea why I've started the lap with just half a charge of battery, but that is rather annoying. As we make our way into turn 1, of course, yeah, Haas and Ferrari both have the kind of joint best power unit this season. So you would expect it to be us, our teams that absolutely dominate this weekend. But Monza can be an interesting little track sometimes in F124, so I would expect McLaren as well to be very, very confident around this venue, especially after the way George Russell dominated the race last weekend. Pierre Gasly just popping up there in P1. This car can be very, very good over the curbs when you get it settled, and I'm just hoping I've saved a bit of battery ready for the second half of the lap. This car seems to be really good in either the really low downforce venues or the really high downforce ones, and well, Pierre, of course, took his first ever F1 victory at this very venue all the way back in 2020. Let's see whether he can do the same this weekend. 1 and 2 at the moment for the Haas duo, as we will just sneak back the lead away from our teammate there. Try and meet the apex through the final corner. Use the battery on the run up towards the line. I think Gasly, though, he's going to steal this one away from us. 1 and 2 for Haas, but Pierre's gone and done it. Well, look at the fine margins then. Pierre Gasly dipping into the 1 minute 16s here in qualifying. Less than a tenth ahead of myself. It's both Haas cars followed by both Ferraris though. Charles Leclerc in P5 ahead of Ollie Behrman, who will again be looking for some points in his Williams car. Both Aston Martins actually ahead of both McLarens as well. So Aston Martin might have just made a bit of a step forward towards the end of this season. Fred Vesti up in P13 in the Sauber car, and the entire grid covered by less than 9/10 of a second. There is no room for error as we head into the race.
The third permanent circuit built anywhere on Earth. Monza has always been special. Now it's been providing motor racing memories for a century. Welcome to the Italian Grand Prix. This place is all about speed. It is a unique challenge. You've got the chicane at turn 1, the Variante Ascari at turns 8, 9 and 10, and the Parabolica to conclude things at 11. Top speeds pushing 215 miles per hour. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position. And Firestarter completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Fittipaldi, Leclerc, Behrman, Teo Porcher, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Stroll, Vesti, Perez, Ricciardo, Sargent, Ocon, Iwasa, Tsunoda, and Zhou Guanyu. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Well, Ferrari and Haas, they've always had a close technical working alliance, but this season that has been absolutely ripped apart, both battling for the championship, and I'm sure Ferrari will be scratching their heads as to how we ended up qualifying ahead of them, ready for the event today, but 27 laps ahead of us then, it is going to be a fast and frantic affair here at the Temple of Speed. Ferrari right behind us, they will look to try and steal away victory if they can. It is 5 red lights. It's going to be lights out, and away we go there. Gasly gets off to a particularly good start, so does Enzo Fittipaldi down in towards turn 1. Both of your championship protagonists not getting off particularly well there, so we will just try and avoid any contact or anything like that through turn 1 and turn 2. A little bit of wheel banging with Oscar Piastri just behind us, as I think the other Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton has made pretty good progress off the start. But yeah, the two of the teammates that aren't in the championship fight getting off to a really nice getaway here, but of course, as always, especially around a track like this, I mean, it's F124, I don't need to say it. The DRS, very, very important, of course, especially in the early stages of a GP as well then, so we just wind our way in towards Sector 2. See, no DRS on that one. Looks like everybody has dealt with that start fairly clean and tidy. I think Lance Stroll, actually, of course, still yet to score a point this year. This is probably going to be his best chance all season long at getting a point on the board, leaving those Sauber cars the only ones on nil points. Fred Vestio starting P13. If things go his way, potentially he could try and find himself bagging a top 10 as well. I think the last time Sauber scored was round 1 of Season 5 of this career mode. We're now most of the way through Season 7. It's safe to say my Sauber career mode is going a little bit better than this series at the moment. Fittipaldi, though, to the outside of Gasly, back in towards turn 1. Are we going to see Ferrari immediately move to the lead of the Grand Prix? Of course, Enzo already a Grand Prix winner on this game. He can't quite make it happen, but I'm sure the Tifosi are loving seeing him try, as already it looks like our top 4 have broken away from everybody else. Oh, Fittipaldi having a look for it down in towards the Ascari chicane. Here again, we'll just about hang on in front of him and stay in that leading spot. But yeah, I mean, already, I think it goes to show around such a power-dominated circuit like this, the edge Ferrari has, or Ferrari power units have over everybody else, especially up towards the top end. But we always have to do it as well then around this circuit. Let's try and do a bit of a top speed test. So we make our way back in towards turn 1. Now Oscar Piastri trying to have a bit of a look for a move. As we try and accelerate through 230 miles an hour, 232 in towards that first corner, but nowhere for us to go. Fittipaldi, though, into the lead of the GP. Again, Ferrari will love seeing that, as Oscar Piastri does not get the run off of that first corner. Here we go then, we'll try and do another top speed test, as I think Gasly is going to try and line up a move back on Fittipaldi in towards turn 1. Already lap times under 80 seconds here, as there goes 230 miles an hour again. 233 that time. I don't know what that is in kilometers an hour, but that might be my new record inside this game. Back into P2 we go though. So it's Haas, Ferrari. 3 seconds already the gap to Teo Porcher. We may as well all work together in the first half of this one, and then kind of let the gloves off in the second half of the race. Oh, I think Pierre, he's used way too much of his battery too early on as we got yellows out. No idea who that is. This is Oscar Piastri! Oscar Piastri with issues in this Grand Prix, and suddenly a lifeline has come in our direction. The worst place for a Ferrari engine to go bang. It happened to me a couple of seasons ago here, if you guys remember battling with Charles Leclerc. But Oscar Piastri, for the first time all year, is not going to score points. He's not even going to finish a Grand Prix. We will immediately take the lead away from our teammate there. But finally, a lifeline. Finally, a chance this season. Something has gone our way. And there you can see the stricken Ferrari out of the final corner. So disappointing for Oscar. But it works out really well for us. Like I said, obviously, one in the fact he's out of the Grand Prix. But second of all, the fact that it doesn't look like McLaren are really going to score here. Their qualifying pace was not fantastic. Their race pace seems to be even worse around this circuit. Their car is definitely not well suited to this high-speed venue. So, I mean, we could immediately jump George Russell back into second overall, but we could slash the gap down to Oscar to, what, like 28 points? And that suddenly would give me a lot more hope with 8 races to go. Ollie Behrman now up into P4. I would love to see him get a podium. I mean, look at Fittipaldi again getting the run on us back towards turn 1. He's going to go past one Haas car. He might try and get past the other as well, wheel to wheel. He will go, and suddenly now Enzo having to try and fly the Ferrari flag, of course named after the Ferrari founder. How special would it be to see an Enzo in a Ferrari win here at the Temple of Speed? Unfortunately, we've got our own World Championship to try and win at the moment, buddy. So we'll go immediately back past the pair of them. But yeah, Pierre, he's not managing his battery at all well early on. And I'm just kind of working out what to do with strategy. Well, as we get to half distance then, Fittipaldi and Pierre Gasly, I would assume both of them will be into the pits at the end of this lap. One good thing for Aston Martin, though, is I think because of Alonso and Théo Pourchaire's battle, it's actually probably now cemented Alonso in P4. Unless he gets a bit unlucky with a pit stop or something like that. Oh, okay, Pierre in, but Fittipaldi opts to stay out then for at least one more lap in this Grand Prix. My aim is to box end of 17 and basically stay out then, obviously go on to a set of softs, try to reclaim that fastest lap from Hamilton. That bonus point could be very, very useful come season's end. As look at that, Fred Vesti, P5 in the Sauber car, pretty much on raw pace alone here. He must have a nosebleed running that high. Well, I'm sure we're going to see now every other car dive into the pit lane as Enzo Fittipaldi first one in. He shouldn't get held up in any traffic or anything like that through the pits. Luckily as well, Pierre Gasly looks like he came back out onto the circuit in some clear air just behind Théo Pourchaire. So it will be interesting to see who re-emerges in P2. Whether Gasly will have a bit of a buffer over Enzo Fittipaldi. Whether they're still going to be battling when he makes it back onto the circuit there. Ollie Behrman temporarily up into P3. Fred Vesti temporarily up into P4. Absolutely wild scenes at the moment as Gasly, he's actually been overcut by Enzo Fittipaldi here by a good couple of seconds as well. So that Ferrari, when it's out in clear air, still looking very, very strong. It's going to be difficult for Pierre to get back to him. Well, into the pits then we will come at the end of lap 17 here. Things still looking pretty good with the car at the moment. We might just get undercut by Enzo Fittipaldi, but we will be on 2-stage softer tyres. I also thought if we can help Pierre get back to him, that can be very, very useful. Please make sure I don't speed into the pit lane. Yep, definitely not taking any risk this weekend. 2 pit lane penalties in 3 Grand Prix there. I do not want a third this weekend. But yeah, the field as well really does seem to kind of spread out into little chunks, it would appear, around here. So one of those Sauber cars still kind of fighting in and around the points, as we might actually stay out comfortably ahead of Fittipaldi here by the time we make our way out onto the circuit once more. Nice and easy on the wheel spin as we make our way back out onto the circuit. That gap is still coming down there, and obviously we will need to put some temperature into the tyres. That's not ideal. A little bit of a lock-up in through turn 1. That might just cost us a bit more. And there you go. Immediately Fittipaldi giving a bit of a lifeline then. But can we try and bring Pierre Gasly back into this fight as well? Well, anybody that watches my Matt212 Racing channel knows this year I've really got into NASCAR racing on iRacing. So I'm actually going to strategically let Enzo Fittipaldi by here to try and get a slipstream run back on him. Obviously, I want to set myself up for fastest lap of the day. And the only way we're sensibly going to be able to do that is by getting the DRS on the run back in towards turn 1. There's only really a couple of laps where these soft compound tyres are going to have the life on them that we need. So out of the final corner, open up the ERS as well then. Hopefully we'll get some DRS back in towards turn 1 and a nice slipstream as well. There's almost 230 miles an hour back in towards turn 1. Around the outside we'll go brake at the 100-metre board. Oh, actually slightly early there on the brakes, but we get it slowed down nicely, wedged over the curbing. get the power down off of turn 1 and turn 2 there and try and carry the speed up through Curva Grande. Again, you're going to be looking at about the 100-meter board to get on the anchors. Purple through that first sector there. Again, attack the curbs nicely. I really did think for a split second that was going to be a mechanical failure. 5th gear through the first of the Lesmos up the top of the circuit. Again, 5th gear through the second one there, only downshifting once on the way through there. And again, using the battery as you make your way down in towards the Ascari chicane. 3 really, really fast corners here on the anchors, down 2 gears, about 150 miles an hour all the way through. And again, completely pinned on the throttle on the exit. Again, improving through sector 2, not quite purple that time, but we use a little bit of battery in towards the final corner. Brake about 60 meters out, down into 6th gear once again. Entry speed of 130 miles an hour. Drain all of the battery we've got available to us on the run to the line. And 18.2. That should be fastest lap locked up. And that is really, really important. We've got the gap over Fittipaldi as well. Let's just try and bring this thing to the flag.
So push now, push.
Well, yeah, we're definitely not going to be able to break away from Fittipaldi towards the end of the afternoon. Obviously used all of my battery that lap. Not that I'm too concerned about it at the moment. Again, we can just slowly bring Pierre Gasly back into this fight. That will actually probably do Haas as a team a few favours here. I'm not going to risk losing the win to get Pierre Gasly back involved. But, you know, if we end up fighting Fittipaldi for a few laps and he closes him, that would work quite nicely. Oh, Gasly. How on earth has Gasly got that much of a run on me as Fittipaldi at the last moment just decides he's going to go defensive from our teammate there. See Pierre now really trying to get his elbows out. Maybe he's just kept his tyres in a slightly better operating windows. I mean, look at that. I would have just let him by down in towards those final couple of turns that time round. Nothing we could do to try and fight against our teammate there. And he immediately is going to try and go on a march to move past Fittipaldi as well. Then he might just have used a bit too much of his battery once more. As again, we'll see what speed we can get. What is that from Pierre there? Just completely moved around on my nose. I get that Fittipaldi maybe was trying to block him as well through turn 1.
But not enough to justify a stop in the remaining laps.
Oh, dearie me, what is going on at the moment then? Gasly might have potentially really screwed us over here. We're going to try and have a look for around the outside of him to the inside of Fittipaldi again. In towards second chicane, Fittipaldi locks up. Enzo Fittipaldi locks up. So suddenly now Haas in 1-2 formation here. The problem is I'm missing half my front wing. So suddenly Pierre Gasly, this could go really, really nicely for him. We just need to try and stay with him if he gets around me here. I just hope that he can drag us along towards the end of the afternoon. But if you were Haas right now, you would be telling him, keep me in the DRS and let me by on the last lap. Fernando is faster than you. Let Michael through for the championship. All of the things that Ferrari have done time and time again when they have been in a world championship fight. But 2 laps remaining here from Monza. And I mean, look at the understeer through that final corner. It is awful. 1 more lap to go then. And despite having half a front wing, are we going to be able to try and find a way back around Pierre Gasly here? Are we about to see Sauber or even Lance Stroll score their first points of the year? I mean, look at the understeer through that final corner. We even get a little bit of wheel spin as we try and put the power down. Pierre, he's built up a huge, huge buffer from me, but we've just got to drain all of the battery. And of course, losing some of the wing makes the car quicker in a straight line. Again, 233 miles an hour there as Gasly gets a little bit of a wobble through turn 1. We bang wheels on the exit, but Pierre there will go back around the outside. That is not what we need. We've got to try and go for it. We've got to be ahead of him. In towards the second chicane there. Drain all of the available battery to us. To the outside, we're going to have to try and go. Can we get it slowed down there? Yes, we can. And around the outside of our teammate. Again, though, he tries to get a run on me on the exit. We are not friendly towards the end of the Grand Prix. There is, how on earth has Gasly done that? That was definitely an illegal overtake to get around the outside of us. Off of that corner, down in towards Ascari. One final time. Surely he went off the road to make the move happen, just like Oscar Piastri did back in Monaco. Pierre, though, he'll let me back by down in towards the chicane. He's now just got to try and defend from Fittipaldi out of the final couple of corners, but Fittipaldi's going to try and move past him. Are we going to see a battle behind us towards the finish? We once again, though, are going to win the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza. That one, critical for our championship fight. P1.
Yes, 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 guys, yes! Come on, boys! Ah, fantastic drive. That's just fantastic. Amazing. You deserved that race win. Well done, mate.
There it is then, victory in the Italian Grand Prix, a historic race and an achievement they can be immensely proud of.
A great victory in their own right today, but you know there's more to it than that as well. They're here on home soil for the power unit supplier, and that means a lot to them, and it means a lot to the team as well.
Haas are no doubt happy with today's performance, having secured the win this weekend. And our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations as we speak.
Well, I've got no idea how Pierre Gasly got back around the outside of Enzo Fittipaldi off that final corner. I didn't even notice that he had, but a 1-2 for Haas then here on Ferrari's backyard. That is so critical for our World Championship hopes. Enzo Fittipaldi in P3 ahead of Alonso and Charles Leclerc. Russell will hang on to P6 in the end, so he will also cut the gap down at the top of the table. Behrman in 7th ahead of Ocon, Perez and Hamilton. And poor Fred Vesti, P11, half a second away from his first ever points in Formula 1 there. He still was able to beat out Tsunoda, Teo Porcher, Logan Sargent there, Lance Stroll down in P16, just ahead of Zhou Guanyu and Ayumu Iwasa, with the two Australians of Ricciardo and Piastri both failing to see the checkered flag. What does that do to our championship standings? Well, it means we are back into second there, and the gap down to just 28 points between myself and the Ferrari man at the top. George Russell only another 8 points back, though, so he is definitely in the fight with a handful of races to go. Pierre, though, up to P4 now, ahead of Lando Norris. Yeah, really tough weekend for McLaren as they will lose ground. Charles Leclerc still ahead of Alonso Fittipaldi with a big resurgence of form as well. And I believe as well, yeah, Fred Vesti, no, he's still behind Lance Stroll on countback this season, so disappointing there for Sauber. Constructors-wise, for the first time, I believe, all season, Haas now at the top of the table, 5 points ahead of Ferrari, while a further 6 ahead of McLaren as well. There is still a lot to play for, though, into the final few races. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.